Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to what will bring us the halfway point of the DTM eSports Pro Series 2024. My name is Luke Crane. I'm joined by Connery Manick. Connery, how the devil are you doing?
I'm doing absolutely fine. I'm prepared for this middle point of the season now. We've got it well underway after our first two rounds, and there's still a lot more stories to tell in this one, that's for sure.
100%. We've got a new pretender champion, could be said, actually, because there's two champions chasing him. Tim Yarshall has been the star of the field so far this season, but clipping at his heels are two, well, past champions. We've got the reigning champion, Kevin Siggy, and Moritz Lohner, who are both just in behind him. But let's check out, though, first of all, the cars that we're going to be using, because you can go to RaceRoom right now. You can go and buy the car pack. So RaceRoom is the sim that we will be using for the championship, and of course you can go there right now and buy the cars that the drivers will be using. Lovely old job. Right, back to the event then. We have had 4 races already so far in the season. We had obviously our qualifying series as well, but now we head to the Lausitzring for what will be rounds, well, in the round number 3, but it is races number 5 and indeed 6. We've got a 20-minute race and a 30-minute race, 10 minutes of qualifying for the first one, 8 minutes qualifying for the second race. Anything in particular that sticks out for you around the Lausitzring?
Well, I'm hoping for a little bit more overtaking here than we've seen before, especially towards the very, very top of the field. It's with those long runs, you can definitely get a good draft off of some of the cars ahead of you and try and stick your way down the inside into some of these heavy braking zones. So that's personally what I'm hoping. Maybe you might not see the race leader get away too much at the front of the field in this sort of situation. That's what we've seen previously before with Yarshall in particular over the last couple of races. He's just got to the front, run for the hills. He's going to have a little bit of a tougher run of it today. I get the feeling. I don't think he'll be able to pull away at the front as easily, but he has proven me wrong before.
Yeah, for sure. It would even be more difficult to get the qualifying results that he's been getting as well. Right, let's check out the calendar for the season so far. Like I mentioned, we are into round number 3 already. Once we finish these 2 races today, that will be the halfway point done and dusted. We were at the Norisring, then we had the Nürburgring, which was last week, and now we're at the Lausitzring. Today's version of the circuit, it is the chicane start, turn number 1, chicane, and short variant on the infield as well. Then we head to the Sachsenring on the 5th of April, so we've got a bit of a break. So we've got a 1-week break between that and then indeed then. Then we head to the Red Bull Ring on the 12th of April, and then the finale, which it very much always is the Hockenheimring, apart from a couple of times for DTM. But yeah, for the most part, in real life, Hockenheimring is the finale. That'll be on the 19th of the 4th. Right, let's check out then the timetable for today's action. So you're at home right now, and I can let you know as to when you can go and get yourself some drinks and snacks. We've had the countdown, we've had the stream start. We're going to head into qualifying very, very short. It's 9 minutes until we get to that. So if you do want to go and get yourself some drinks and snacks, now is the best time to do it, because once the action starts, oh boy, it just does not stop. So then we have indeed race number 1, which starts at 20 to the top of the hour. Then we have quali 2, which is a little bit shorter than what we had for the first race, which is 8 minutes long, and then race number 2, which is 30 minutes with a mandatory pit stop in the middle. That opens at 7.5 minutes, and it closes with 7.5 minutes left. Then we'll have some interviews, hopefully, if any of the drivers decide to turn up this week, and then we'll end the stream, and then you can go get more drinks and snacks and have a little chat with your family about what you've just seen. Right, let's check out the entry list for today's race, or indeed the championship as a whole. And there you go. There are all of our drivers there. So basically, you can just go through that list if you want to freeze the stream very quickly and have a look for your favorite driver. If one of your friends has already qualified and they've told you they've qualified, you'll see their name on a list. It really is that Simple. But what are they all battling out for? Well, this week we've actually got a little video for you to see, we'll show you exactly what they're battling out for. Lots of cool prizes. So there you go. That's all of the prizes there. So you can win prizes for being, you know, a respectful, safe driver, which neither me and Connery are. You can win yourself prizes for being really, really fast as well, which is pretty cool to see as well. But there's also like real life opportunities. Being able to ride on a scooter in real life would be pretty fun, to be honest. I think if I was in the championship, knowing I'm not that quick, probably just sit at the back, get 0 incidents, take myself home a scooter. Really as simple as that. Connery, pretty cool prize pool.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a decent variety, so even if you don't do so well in a championship, you can try and go for one of the other prizes as well. Try and go for those fastest laps. Try and go for those pole positions. But one driver that's been doing very well in all of those categories so far is Tim Yarshall. So it seems like he's going to be, well, if this trend continues, he'll be going home with a whole bunch of prizes, not just prize money, but test days and the opportunity to get yourself your motorsport license in Germany and things like that. And it's all great.
He'll have one leg inside of a car, one leg on a scooter, and then his hands just reeling off the cash. I think that's probably what he's going to go for, will Tim Yarshall. Right, we are very close to going into our qualifying session, ladies and gentlemen. I'm watching the YouTube channel and a Twitch channel to my left. So if you want to get yourself involved, let me know where you're watching from around the world. Maybe you've got a favorite driver you're supporting. Now's the time to get involved. But first of all, let's check out some little sneak peeks for Q1 RaceRoom content drops. So first seen, of course, in the DTM pack, the Ferrari 296, which is now going to be available in the GT3 categories, and Powellville, the race circuit you just saw there on screen. Very similar to what we've seen from Macau, so another beautiful street circuit. But we're here for some DTM eSports Pro Series action. Let's head out to track then. Let's head to the Lausitzring and see what our drivers are up to right now. And well, we are still in practice by the looks of things. 4 minutes left on the practice clock, and Isaac Gillison is the fastest as it stands. The Ferrari right up the sharp end with Emre Cihan in second. But as we look at it, none of the real big hitters have yet put a lap time in. So that means they've just joined the server. And we normally see it qualifying, really, when it really does ramp up in practice. We never see the fastest lap times.
Yeah, that does seem to be the case. Some drivers, again, just sort of keeping their pace in reserve. They don't want to show exactly what the situation is here in the early stages of practice. It's, or rather, through the entirety of practice, let's be completely honest here. So, yeah, it's all about just getting their sights set, what the track conditions like at the moment. You know, do they have to make any sort of adjustments to their driving style? You know, that's going to be the name of the game here in this practice session, and getting yourself in the zone for what is potentially going to be a pretty frantic qualifying session. And qualifying has been so important over the course of this season, Luke, especially with how close the field is and how competent the field is at defending. It sometimes is very tricky to actually try and gain positions in these races because everyone is so good.
Well, unless you're Moritz Lohner. If you haven't looked at it this week, he showed a video of how he managed to go up from P21, I think it was, up to P8 on lap 1, which was absolutely ridiculous. We don't have replays, unfortunately, for the broadcast. So last week I was a bit scratching my head, like, how's he managed to get into that position? But yeah, go and just search Moritz Lohner on Twitter, and you'll find him, X, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, qualifying is really, really important. G2 have got a livery today, by the way. That's impressive. Yeah, it really is important. We've only had 2 people hit a pole position time this season. Tim Yarshal's got 3, and we've then got Moritz Lohner, who's managed to get 1. So that pole position award, which is an Asher wheel, remember, Asher wheel rim, Tim Yarshall is in pole position for that right now by clear 2 qualifying sessions. So even if Moritz was to get 2 pole positions today, it would just be tied. So Tim Yarshall looking really, really good for that award as it goes. And again, you said it's really, really close. The whole field was separated by pretty much half a second last time out. I would say, the top 27, I think it was separated by half a second. So really, really close out there. And with it being difficult to overtake unless you're Moritz Lohner, yeah, qualifying is absolutely key. A few stats though, let's go through a few stats. The only driver to have 5 top 10 finishes so far this season, Tim Yarshall, as you would expect. We've got a few drivers that have got 4 top 10 finishes. Moritz Lohner being one of them, Nikodem Wisniewski being another one, Jeffrey Rietveld being another one, and then Marcel Shinshik and Isaac Price. Those 2 have managed to get themselves into the top 10 4 times. In terms of top 5s, again, Tim Yarshall, the only driver with 5 of them. In terms of having more than 3, well, it's Nikodem Wisniewski, he's got 4. In terms of top 3s, we've got ourselves Tim Yarshall, who's got 3 out of 4. We've then got him in terms of Moritz Lohner getting himself 3 as well. This does include, though, the qualifying round. So Tim Yarshall managing to get himself a P3 early on this season. So he's got himself 4 top 3s.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, we'll have to see how that translates in terms of the points here. And in fact, we can give you a little bit of an idea of what the standings look like at this particular stage of competition. There they are, up on screen for you now. Tim Yarshall on 110 points. Closest competitor, Moritz Lohner, 74. That's close.
Massively behind. Yeah, it's more than the race wins.
Sorry.
Behind.
Yeah, opposite of close.
It is the absolute opposite of close, which is far away. Yeah, 74 points playing, 110. I think if you had sort of 2 or 3 drivers that were that far ahead of the rest of the field, then for drivers like Moritz Lohner, Kevin Siggy, Nikodem Wisniewski, it becomes very difficult for them to win this championship. But the fact it's 1 driver, and all it takes is 1 bad weekend, realistically, for them to catch up, they're not going to be overly worried. I think if we were in the final week of the championship, then you'd be very, very worried. But we know that Moritz Lohner is capable of magical things, as is Kevin Siggy, and as is pretty much the whole of the top 10 on this list. But if you look a little bit further down, Enzo Benito, only 12th position. Jack Keithley, who you would definitely put as a RaceRoom specialist, only 11th position. Big names like Dominic Blyer, Erhan Yajowski, Ottaviani, they are only just about in the top 16 on this list. Marco Pajic, only P18. And the fact of the matter is, Tim Yarshall has been so consistent over the course of this championship so far, and everybody else has been taking points off of each other.
Yeah, that is quite well. That's quite succinctly summed up the situation there, Luke. Yarshall has just had pretty much no problems, and like you said, everyone else has had at least 1 race where they've had a little bit of an issue and fallen down through the order a little bit, and they haven't been able to get consistent second place finishes, consistent third place finishes to try and at least keep pace with Tim Yarshall at the very front of the field. Those are our drivers. A look at our drivers, and actually you can get a sneak peek of the German stream up in the top left corner of your screen there as well. There we go.
They got a desk and everything.
Yeah.
How does that work out? Oh, okay, copy. No worries.
They got a whole studio.
That's outrageous that they've got that. Fair enough. They must have thousands of people supporting that. Fair play. Fair play. That's just unbelievable. Where's our desk?
Yeah. We should start a petition. Get the English stream a desk.
Yeah, something like that. Right, here we are then, qualifying. So they've got themselves 10 minutes in this session. Their lap starts just before the start of the final corner. So they can do a short start, basically, and as soon as they cross the line, they can reset and then restart another lap time. So they don't have to do a full lap before they start their fast one. But yeah, we are on board with Enzo. Once we do get on board with someone who's just about crossing the start-finish line, we'll do a full lap of the Lausitzring from the cockpit view, just so you can get a bit of a visual representation as to what this circuit is like. Oh, bit of a mistake there from Ottaviani, and well, perfectly done there, as we're going to now go on board with Ottaviani. Hopefully he finishes the lap. Last time we did this, it was him we were on board with, and he didn't finish lap time. Round the final corner we'll go, opens it up nicely to maximise the entry and exit speed of the final corner. Here we go, Lausitzring short circuit. Last time we did DTM eSports and we did Lausitzring, we had the oval variant of turn number 1, which means they just keep going pretty much flat out. They've let off ever so slightly just past this wall on the left hand side, but this time they've got to turn left here, so there is a chicane to go through. So here is turn number 1. You've got to avoid that spaceship on the inside. Now we come through turn 2 and turn 3, which are indeed the S's. And now we sort of shift the car back out towards the oval section of the circuit, a bit of a hairpin here for turn number 4, and then we go sweeping onto the oval section of the left hand side. And this is where we have one of the harsher of the braking zones, which is now turn number 6. Just about goes back on itself. It's a really open braking zone as well, so you'll see a lot of cars try and send one up the inside. The longer variant turns right there, but we're turning left, so we now head onto the infield. Once again, that's turn number 7. Now we've got the long run down towards the hairpin, sweeping left-hander, which is going to be turn number 8. Kevin Siggy just gone pole position, not by a lot. There we go, turn number 7 negotiated, and then a short run down towards turn number 8. And now it's all about setting yourself up for that final complex of corners. Turn number 9 in towards the final corner. And it's so easy to mess this up. Run into that wall on the outside, which will invalidate, and it's almost a graze there. As we come around the final corner, Ottaviani, looked like a pretty tidy lap actually. Didn't look like he was pushing too crazily, but I think a bank time for sure is going to be posted. It's all about how quick it is.
Good enough for 10th place.
Yeah, I think he'll take that for a bank time. Still 6 minutes 30 seconds to go. Again, for race number 1, they have got themselves 10 minutes to get a qualifying lap time in, whereas the second race is only 8 minutes. Dominic Blyer, who is currently 1/10 of a second off of P1, is going faster here, Connery, and he might be able to improve. He's gone purple for himself. As we go up towards, as we go across the start-finish line, it is pole position. So the Audi driver, a 1:21.2, and that is a very special lap time indeed. And 400ths of a second may not seem like a lot to you watching at home right now, but in terms of the DTM eSports, that is an absolute age. As we're on board with championship leader Tim Yarshall, who's setting himself up for a flying lap, currently P8.
Yeah, and look at it, it's 4 Audis at the very top of the order at the moment. So the Audis having a whole bunch of fun here at the Lausitzring in this particular bop, shall we say. But Yarshall at least has his banker lap in, starting inside the top 10 at the moment. Will we see another wondrous qualifying performance from Tim Yarshall? Well, he doesn't think that lap was good enough, so he takes the toe back to the starting point with about half the session to go. So we're not panicking just yet for Tim Yarshall, but the pressure is on just that little bit in this qualifying session, especially with how strong those Audis seemingly are compared to the likes of the Porsches and the BMWs, and well, there's some Ferraris in this race, but none of them are inside the top 15.
I'd say it's the first time we've seen Tim Yarshall under pressure, in all honesty. He's only just shy of 0.2 of a second off of what is the fastest time, but for the first time, the championship leader looks beatable. He's had a P2, a P1 in rounds 1 and 2, and then races 3 and 4. We thought it was a P1 and indeed a P2, but it wasn't here. Unfortunately, did not get the race victory last time out because he had a 5-second penalty for an incident on lap number 1, which thus put him down to P4. He does lead the championship by quite the margin, but Kevin Siggy, who is currently 3rd in this championship, with that second spot as it stands, a big chunk of change between him and Tim Yarshall, 12 positions to be exact, might be a big opportunity for the Team Redline driver to close that gap. In terms of Dominic Blyer currently sits himself in about 15th position in this championship. Sorry, 13th position in this championship. So Blyer needs to realistically get a couple of race victories over the next sort of 3 or 4 races, I would say, to put himself in the hunt. But he's started the best way possible by being P1. Moritz Lohner, who is a DTM eSports champion of a couple of years ago, currently going faster than he has ever been before, and he's right now only 0.05 of a second off of what Dominic Blyer produced. If we go around that final corner, Connery, this might be the lap that puts him up the order.
It would be a good change for Moritz, because I think he's fed up of starting down the field and having to try and get his way all the way back through. So coming across the line now, looking like a very good lap indeed, trying to get as short a distance to the line as possible. Good enough for 10th place, but just look at how much time he's behind the leader. 1.25 of a second. And oh, Jacob Brzezinski up into P2 by a single 1,000th of a second behind his fellow Polish, compatriot.
Yeah, certainly is. Two poles then are in P1 on pole and P2. So that's Dominic Blair and Brzezinski holding that front row, and it's by 1,000th of a second. It is by absolutely nothing, as Gianmarco Fiducci is going a lot faster than he has been before. And we're just looking at Moritz Lohner's time. He was P10, he's now P11. He finds half a tenth more. He moves himself all the way up into a top 5, maybe even actually a top 4. Like, it's ridiculously close in that midfield. I'll be about to see Marco Pajic now go a little bit faster. So the two Veloce BMWs look like they may have found a little bit of extra pace here. Around that final corner, they will go. He finds himself about 300ths of a second off of the top of the timesheets, and that will be enough to move up into 3rd spot. As he goes across the line, though, it is not a good last sector. So the BMW may be struggling in that final sector, as Tim Yarshall does move up to 4th. And as I say, the BMW is struggling in the final sector. Fiducci has just put his car into 3rd.
Yeah, fantastic stuff indeed. And, well, so things still shuffling around towards the back end of this session. Dominic Blair has tried to go a bit faster. He was faster through Sector 1 and decides to abandon that particular lap, takes the tow back to the starting point. Jeffrey Rietveld's on a good lap here at the moment in terms of personal bests. It's so close here in the top 10. The entirety of the top 10 are within a single 10th of a second at the moment here, Luke. That's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't think this would be the circuit where they're actually closer here than they were at the Norisring, which is mind-blowing. As Enzo Benito, out of absolutely nowhere, has just gone and thrown his car on pole position by 300ths of a second. Wow, that is very impressive indeed, as Moritz Lohner is flying as well. The final sector, though, does seem to be the area of the circuit that the BMW is struggling with. Then up towards the final couple of corners there, being wary of the curbs. Don't want to grab too much curb there as we come then through the final part of the corner, using all the curb to help the rotation through the left-handers, the right-handers not so much. And as we then come through that final corner, using all of the banking to your advantage, it's flat out from here towards the line. Are we about to see Moritz Lohner produce another bit of DTM eSports magic? Well, no, it was quick until that final sector again. It's only P11 with 1 minute, 10 seconds left on the clock. I think that might be it.
It might be, as it's a 1:21 lap here, and drivers will not get the opportunity to complete their laps once time expires. So, yeah, that's just the situation. Jeffrey Rietveld, fastest through Sector 1 at the moment. What's his Sector 2 time going to be? It is still up on Benito's time at the moment, but this is where this is Sector 3. This is where things tend to fall apart from a lot of the drivers that we've seen go on fast laps. This Sector 3 is very difficult to hook up.
Yeah, Tim Yarshall absolutely flying as well, although it's a grey middle sector. So Jeffrey Rietveld here looking to make it a team red line 1-2 at the front end here. And is it about to come true for them? Got Kevin Siggy then, who's currently in 5th position as well, so that'll be a very good day for Redline. You've got a couple of, well, I say couple of, Dominic Blair is no longer partners with Brzezinski, as Jeffrey Rietveld does indeed go pole position. I was just about to say Williams eSports, of course, having a couple of cars in the top 4, but Blair is Williams. Brzezinski is no longer Williams, but Jeffrey Rietveld has just stolen a pole position away from his teammate. We saw Tim Yarshall going a little bit faster in the background, but I just think his middle sector wasn't quick enough. And well, it is a 1-2 then for Redline. Williams eSports have got 3rd spot with Dominic Blair. Jacob Brzezinski is in 4th. We've then got Gianmarco Fiducci, Kevin Siggy are in 5th and 6th. And then our championship leader, Tim Yarshall, only in 7th spot. But in terms of his championship rivals, Wisniewski and Siggy are ahead of him. Moritz Lohner's behind him. So Tim Yarshall still has got the advantage in terms of points coming into this. Of course, you know, that doesn't change in qualifying. But his championship rivals are not that far ahead of him. They're right around him, so he can manage his situation. So not the end of the world for Yarshall.
Yeah, not absolutely. He's still in it. He's still there, contending for those top positions. And given the amount of advantage that he has in the points order at the moment, you know, I'm not too concerned for him at the moment. Let's just say that. But yeah, it's good to see a change towards the very top of the order. It's we're seeing a lot of the Audis have good days, but you know we've seen the Porsches up there as well, so they still have a little bit of pace, even though we have seen a majority of Audis at the front of the field. It's not a complete death sentence if you're in another manufacturer, though.
No, you're not wrong. You are absolutely not wrong indeed. Shout out to Patrick as well, watching over on Twitch. Hope you're having a good evening, my friend. And you've got your fellow countryman actually on pole position for this race, Jeffrey Rietveld. I will say one thing. Siggy's really the only redline driver that's turned up in this championship so far. You know, I wouldn't say this is necessarily a specialist game for Rietveld or Enzo Benito, but they really have come into the fore today. That is for certain. You know, they're where are they in the championship, to be honest? We've got Rietveld, who's currently in 5th position, so not having the worst of championships, but, you know, Jeffrey's used to challenging for the top honours, and then Enzo finds himself just outside that top 10. So, yeah, maybe an opportunity here to swing this championship and make the second half of the season very much a battle, which it just hasn't been because Tim Yarshall has been that good.
It really has. It's a long road back, but, you know, every single comeback starts somewhere. But the thing is, we don't even know who's going to attempt to become the comeback king here in this situation. We might have a little bit of a clearer picture towards the end of this race. Of course, these guys will get themselves their rolling start done and sorted here very, very shortly. Yeah, this race is looking good. The field is as tight as you like, and I have no idea who's gonna come out on top in this one.
No idea as well. And you make a really, really good point there. Tim Yarshall has been the only real consistent customer throughout this championship. So finding out who that driver is or multiple drivers are going to be in terms of challenging for the title, you know, none of them have really, you know, put their head up above the clouds and gone, yeah, I fancy giving this a go. Everybody's kind of had their off races and their on races. So big opportunity though for the likes of Rietveld, for the likes of Enzo Benito, Dominic Blyer as well, Nikodem Wisniewski. There's going to be no love lost between the two poles. Of course, they are compatriots, but they now race for different teams. They were teammates. So I'm almost certain that we are going to see those two have an absolute ding-dong. Right, they're going to line up then as we head around this Lausitzring short circuit, GP short, for a 20-minute time race. Who do you think is going to get the job done here then, Connery? Who do you think is going to get the job done?
It's difficult to say. I did like the pace to Dominic Blyer in the early parts of that session, really setting the early benchmark. The tricky thing for him, though, is he has 2 Team Redline drivers directly ahead of him on the front row who will be doing their level best to try and keep him behind, working together. That's the advantage when you have teammates around you, is that you can make life a little bit difficult for your opponents. But I still like the chances of Dominic here. I think he has the pace to potentially get up in the faces of both Rietveld and Benito and cause them a few issues.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm going to throw Fiducci out there. I think the BMW seems to be a car that's very good in terms of the early stages of the race and able to get a very good race start. So, yeah, don't be surprised if Fiducci makes it 3 wide, manages to get himself involved here. Right, it is the first race of 2 today. We've got a 20-minute race, and then we head to our second race of the day, which is a 30-minute long race. Who's going to come out on top? Well, we're about to find out then. Jeffrey Rietveld, Enzo Benito make it a Team Redline 1-2. We've then got Dominic Blyer for Williams, and then we've got Brzezinski for G2 as your second row. Once were teammates this year, now they're not. So we're about to go green light racing for this 20-minute time race. Up to the line we go. We are green light racing. I'll tell you what, Fiducci has got an absolute flyer up the inside here. Down then towards turn number 1. Rietveld into number 69 has the inside line through turn number 1. And I tell you what, Fiducci here, he might have a run. Oh, there's a big spin. Blyer and Siggy were side by side. They were touching there. I think Tim Yarshall now has got ahead of both of those two. They've managed to save it. They are not facing the wrong way. But Gianmarco Fiducci from 5th is up to 2nd. What a start in that BMW.
Fantastic. Your prediction doing well, mine not so much, as Dominic Blyer got sideways through the first couple of corners. He has been put back into a battle with Kevin Siggy here as the Redline driver tries to make progress around the outside. That tight left-hander still with this extended side-by-side battle now, but I think Siggy's going to win out in this one. Yes, he is. He's up into P5 here at the moment. Rietveld's the one that leads this race here at the moment, but I do have to agree with you there, Luke. Fiducci just really an absolute monster on the start there, getting multiple positions. Currently sits in 2nd place, splitting the 2 Redline cars at the front.
Well, it's taken 3 months, but I've finally got something right in sim racing, and I only get one thing right every year. So the rest of 2024 back to normal service, unfortunately. But yes, what a start here. He's got a really good exit out the final corner. There might be an opportunity to slipstream down towards turn number 1 to get that BMW into the lead. Looks like it wasn't a better car in terms of qualifying pace, but race pace maybe a little bit different. Let me know in the chat on YouTube or indeed Twitch who you are supporting today, who you want to see win. To come down towards turn number 1, then it is Jeffrey Rietveld on lap number 2 and does lead the way to two Fiducci, two Italians actually, with Enzo Benito being in third spot. Tim Yarshall is in fourth, and he's taken full advantage of Kevin Siggy and Dominic Flyer getting into it. And the championship leader, tell you what, if you offered him two P4s, I think, considering how it's gone so far this season, he would have absolutely taken it. Wow, it looks like we might have a little bit of a spicy session here, because pit window is actually going to open during this race, which I didn't think was a thing in the first race, but here we are.
Yeah, they're not meant to pit. There's no mandatory rule that he says you have to pit in this particular race, but I imagine if you wanted to, the pit window will be open, I suppose. But yeah, the situation at the front of the field, of course, they've got themselves all strung out relatively single file at the moment. We can give a little bit of an update about what's going on a little bit further behind. Let's see who are the movers and shakers, really. We see Marcel Chinchik further down the order than we're used to seeing him. He's down in P26 here at the moment, so not been a great start at the Lausitzring for Chinchik. And, we've got Florian Hasse back here, Ben Spunky, Jack Heath, Erik Toman is the RAG driver that we're looking at here at the moment. He's got Erhan Yajowski right ahead of him, so two tangoing around the circuit here at the moment. It's always great to have a teammate with you to try and bounce off of and try to make gaps for you, I suppose. But let's see what progress both Yajowski and Toman can make in this sort of situation, as they're kind of stuck a little bit behind Marko Pejic.
We've got Patrick here who says hopefully one of the Team Redline cars wins, or someone from the Netherlands, which is always good. Jose Alvarez, welcome. Hopefully you're enjoying the broadcast as well. But yeah, there we go. It is Jeffrey Reebelt that leads away, 14 minutes away from the end, and actually, as much as it looks like it's really tight up there, may have gained a couple of cars lengths actually over the course of the last lap or so, although Fiducci in that slipstream is going to close back in. Enzo Benito just letting Fiducci know, yeah, I'm still here, trying to force him to make me run offline ever so slightly. And then you've got Tim Yarshall, who ultimately, right now, is in a perfect position. His championship rivals, as it stands, he was 36 points clear of Moritz Lohner. Moritz Lohner finds himself in 10th. He was 38 points clear of Kevin Siggy. Kevin Siggy's right behind him. And then you've got Nikodem Wisniewski, who was 40 points behind in the championship. Nikodem Wisniewski finds himself, well, where is Wisniewski? Well, he's down in P27. So right now, Tim Yarshall not going out there for the ultimate victory, although Kevin Siggy's looking to try and gain some points here. He's just managing this championship exceptionally well. And I said last week, I said if Tim Yarshall gets top 5 for the remainder of the season, he will be your DTM eSports champion. He's right now currently in that top 5 and looking very comfortable indeed.
Yeah, no matter what sort of pressure that Siggy's able to put on him at the moment, which is actually not really that much. There's a decent amount of air between the two cars here at the moment. Then he seems to be very comfortable continuing on with the task at hand. Yes, he's not leading like he's used to doing over the course of this season, but he won't let that phase him in this situation. He knows what the deal is when it comes to the championship, and he knows exactly what he needs to do. So that's the situation up there. Further back to the field, it's a little bit more shuffled, shall we say. Some drivers a little out of position. I mentioned Chinchik a little bit earlier on. You pointed out Wisniewski as well, who's currently in a little bit of a side-by-side scrap with Christian Michel down the inside, and that becomes the outside though for the next turn. So let's see if he's able to hang around the outside in that G2 car. It's going to be a bit of a struggle through there. Michel able to hold on for now and still maintains the overlap. All credit where credit's due. Continuing on this battle, you've got behind Egin behind looking in as well.
Yeah, but big respect to both of them there. They could have called each other off at any opportunity, to be honest, and they just declined to do so. So yeah, really good respect there. But someone of Wisniewski's pedigree, you cannot afford to give him an inch, because he will take a mile, and by mile I mean position. And there you go, he makes up a position, but he's just dropped down so far from that initial battle he had with Dominic Flyer. He was on the second row of the grid. To find yourself now battling with P25, how quickly the race can go from hero to zero effectively.
Of course, it was a little bit of a tangle in that in those opening corners as well, so you have to wonder a little bit about how much damage that he's nursing at the moment. It didn't look visually too bad, but as we all know in sim racing, there can be hidden bits of damage. I mean, that even applies in the real world as well. You might get a weird knock to the wheel that sort of knocks the suspension out of alignment, and then all of a sudden you have a car that doesn't drive as well, even though on the outside you're completely fine.
think every car I've ever driven in sim race has had hidden damage now, you come to think of it. So, thanks for that, Connor. I didn't know that existed, but yeah, it turns out I'm slow because of hidden damage. The end of lap number 6. We've got 11 minutes left on the clock. And well, the top 3 are kind of starting to separate out now. It looks like Tim Yarshall, who made up a couple of spots early in this race on lap number 1, kind of just decided I'm going to chill here. He's not got Kevin Siggy right behind him either, piling any kind of pressure on. And if you're Enzo Benito, you've now really got an opportunity to go and attack that BMW in front, because you're not going to be, instantly attacking Tim Yarshall from behind. You've got 1, maybe 2 opportunities here. So get a good exit through this left-hander and maybe make an opportunity for yourself as we exit the oval onto the infield, because it is such a wide braking zone, such an open area to find space to make a move, and actually not quite close enough this time around. Fiducci, though, took full advantage of hitting the race start in front of him. 5th up to 2nd. Really nice stuff from Fiduci.
Yeah, really nice. In a very comfortable spot here at the moment. We are riding on board with Enzo Benito at the moment. I'm amazed that as soon as I pulled his webcam up, Luke didn't make a comment about how handsome he is. But I imagine that is coming. But yeah, Enzo, you can see him laser focused on the task at hand and trying to at least find some form of gap on the inside outside of Fiduci. But Fiduci's been holding very, very strong here at the moment. The top 3 have actually kept themselves relatively close together, which is not actually what we're used to seeing in this series. Again, like I said, we're used to seeing the leader sort of waltz away from the rest of the field, but not so here in this first sprint race.
Yeah, clear air seems an absolute premium in this series, but these 3 are keeping close together. And Connery, I won't make a comment on Enzo. He's not a piece of meat, okay? Christ, unbelievable. Front 3 separated by very little here. Bit of mistake there from Enzo through the first couple of corners. Fiduci, though, maybe putting himself in a position to go out here and win this race. There's nothing to lose at this point. Getting a good finish, for someone like Fiduci, who's currently down in, 10th position in the championship, he cannot afford really a second. He needs to go out there and win this race. It really is as simple as that. So expect the front 3 to start battling crazily. Tim Yarshall, who's currently now with 9 minutes to go in P4, is closing up to the back of Enzo Benito. This race isn't over. I believe we're going to see some excitement near the end of this one. The BMW may be the one that's going to provide that excitement. Yeah,
the 5-lap average for Enzo Benito has been half a tenth of a second better than Fiduci, which doesn't sound all that much, but half a tenth of a second a lap when you're this close actually does make some form of impact. In terms of Yarshall, he's definitely on the pace here, hanging on towards the back of this leading group as well. So I don't think he has to worry too much here in this situation. You've got a little bit of battle behind as well, Dominic Plyer and Jacob Brzezinski. Brzezinski might just have an opportunity here towards turn number 1. He's got a comfortable run inside of that slipstream, and let's see if he's able to do anything about that Williams eSports driver ahead. Goes to the outside.
Yeah, Brzezinski there makes it very obvious he's going to defend the inside line, does it early as well, forcing Brzezinski to take the outside line, and it becomes very difficult to find any kind of overlap. And realistically now, you want to try and get onto the left-hand side of that Williams car, coming back onto the oval. Is there an opportunity this time round? No, there is not. Will the Porsche get a nicer exit onto the oval? They are very close, closely minding the situation. Jacob Brzezinski is going to have to wait to find another day. Although Dominic Plyer will help the situation there for Brzezinski by running a little bit deep onto the infield, giving another opportunity to Brzezinski. Brzezinski, though, not quite close enough to pounce. I think Brzezinski might get caught out there. I think he was kind of like settling into a decent position and just like, I'm not going to try and make a move. And then realised, oh, hold on, there's actually a mistake in front of me, but then wasn't able to attack because he relaxed too much.
Yes, you just always have to keep yourself in a position where you can capitalize on the mistakes of the driver ahead, right? You have to always be aware of it. We're sometimes guilty, when we're driving in the sim. Of course, the professional sim drivers have this as well. We're guilty of tunnel vision, just sort of focusing. Okay, I've done so many laps, I'm in the zone, and I'm just sort of focusing on, okay, where's the next braking point for the next corner? Where's my turn-in point? Where's my acceleration point coming out the corner? And then you forget that you get opportunities like this where the door just opens and you can send it down down the inside. In that case, it didn't work for Jacob Brzezinski, but he's fired a couple of shots already. One of them's going to land at some point, right?
Yeah, well, exactly that. There's not really more. And whilst you haven't got Leonard Krickler right up your chuff pipe, you've got to try and make something happen as early as possible, because as soon as you start battling side by side and don't get that move done, Krippner's going to catch up, but more importantly, Moritz Lohner's then going to catch up, and if you give him an opportunity of an overtake, he very much is absolutely going to take it on. Tomolo Cars, welcome to the stream as well. Hopefully you are well. Yeah, get yourself involved, guys, if you are supporting anyone in particular. Get yourself involved in the chat. We get a lovely look here then of Dominic Blyer and his rear wing, looking back at Jakob Brzezinski. They were teammates merely a few weeks ago. Now, not so much. I say not so much, not at all. We've got the two Polish drivers in Brzezinski and Wisniewski. They've both moved over to G2 eSports or G2 Sim Racing, as you can see there with the G2 livery in the background. And again, Blyer, a little bit of pressure relatively well, and actually probably has the biggest gap he's had to work with that car behind the entirety of this race. So Dominic Blyer with 5 and a bit minutes to go, trying to consolidate that top 6.
Yeah, has that little bit of breathing room as well, so he doesn't have that Porsche Brzezinski breathing down his neck every single corner. He can just sort of relax a little bit now and focus on just lap times here at the moment. He's got a lot of clear air ahead of him, so he doesn't have to, worry about being on the offensive just yet. But a top 6 finish would still be okay for Dominic Blyer, but I think he would be kicking himself considering how the opening portion of that race went. A bit of contact through the first couple of turns, losing a few positions when he could have given Rietveld and Benito and even Fiducci a run for their money at the front. Now he's kind of stuck here down in 6th place.
Yeah, more importantly, he's given Yarshall an extra couple of positions. So Tim had qualified out of position considering what he's achieved so far this season. He's got a second, a first, a 4th, and another second. He was 7th on the grid, so the contact that was had between Wisniewski and Dominic Blyer, then Kevin Siggy getting involved as well. It's kind of gifted Tim Yarshall, the key figure in this championship, the leader of this championship, 3 opportunities. We've got Isaac Gillison, who is representing Ferrari eSports team. He's got a couple of RHG cars in behind him with Yuri Toman and Erhan Yayovsky. How far has Shinshin got up the order? Well, actually, he's only gained 2 spots. He's now up to P23. We saw him massively down the order earlier in this race, not being the best of starts for Marcel Shinshin, who we expect to be fighting right at the sharp end of the championship. He's currently 7th in the championship overall, but he's right down the order. Isaac Gillison has, again, not really had the best of starts this season either. He's down to 23rd in the championship. Finds himself fighting for 11 spots. This is not what Isaac Gillison expects. He expects to be fighting, top 5s, maybe even race victories. Yeah, maybe not going quite so well this season. But there's only 3 Ferraris on the grid. So Ferrari maybe not favoured in terms of the European. Or like we're seeing today, the Audi's the faster car, quite clearly, but wasn't in the first 2 rounds. Maybe the Ferrari's got a few rounds in it later in the season.
That potentially might be the case. Of course, drivers will have had a look at the tracks that are going to be coming over the course of the season, and then they will have made a bit of an informed choice. However, I think that's probably not the case. I think that, that's probably not the case for Isaac. He's probably forced into using that Ferrari because Ferrari eSports team, okay? They can't exactly run an Audi, right? So that's an interesting situation. I guess the pressure's off in terms of choosing a car, but you're kind of having to deal with what you've been given, right? If you Gillison in this situation. So there we go. He's dealing with it quite well so far. I mean, he is the fastest Ferrari out there, which is definitely worth something. He's on the edge of the top 10, so looking decent at the moment. But I get the feeling him as a racing driver would have hoped that he was in the top 5, like you said, rather than on the edge of the top 10.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you've got Yuri Toman behind you as well. It's not a comfortable 11th position by any stretch of the imagination. Yuri Toman, Erhan Yayovsky, Erhan been around for forever. RaceRoom being one of the stronger platforms he's on as well. It's just not a fun experience to me. That's why Gillis has dropped behind Marco Page, because he's having to look backwards opposed to looking forwards. Heading then down towards the last 2 minutes. We're under the 2-minute mark now. Jeffrey Rietveld still leads this race, and I reckon by the time they cross the start-finish line, there's going to be 2 laps remaining. So we'll find out exactly when they cross the line. It needs to be around about the 1:25 mark left on the clock. Well, as they go around this circuit, the less and less likely that is. So they've got, 13, 14 seconds to get across the line from this point. Whether this is going to be the last lap they're going on to now, or whether they've got one more. So 4 seconds, I would say. I think we might be having one more lap only. Yeah, we're going to only have one more lap then. So we're on to the final lap of today's race.
Wow,
Jeffrey Rietveld has done a very good job of leading from start to this point. well, again, it might stretch onto one more after this. I don't know. We'll call it as if it's the final lap, and if it's not, well, we get an extra lap.
Yeah, we get bonus, right? So we get a lap that we weren't expecting. Of course, that might cause a fuel issue if driver's not expecting to go that extra lap. But
Gillis is dropping down. He's P17 now, so there must have been an issue with him and Toman. He's now in 17th position. Just saw him dropping like a stone there in the timing tower. Sorry to cut you off there, Connery. But yeah, we were just looking at him in a pretty stressful P11. Now it's an even more stressful P17.
Yeah, not the best day at the office for Gillison, all things considered here, and he's going to make sure he doesn't lose yet more spots here, because Leandro Villa, you've got Alessandro Ottaviani in behind as well, which will be eager to try and overtake a stricken Ferrari eSports driver. But with 20 seconds left on the clock, the drivers are just heading their way through the final sector now, not expecting massive changes in positions, with the exception of anything dramatic here towards the end of the race.
This might be the last lap, it might not be the last lap. Jeffrey Rietveld is about to come across the line. And wow, is there one more lap to go? It's going to be bang on the 0. And there we go. That is the checkered flag there. Congratulations to Jeffrey Rietveld. That was bang on 0, that was, by the way. Finucci is going to finish in 2nd spot. You've then got Enzo Benito who's going to finish in 3rd there. 4th position for Tim Yarshall. Tim Yarshall, even though Jeffrey Rietveld is the winner, the biggest winner is going to be Tim Yarshall, because all of his championship rivals still finished below him. So a big day for the German, who, you know, not the strongest in terms of outright pace, but finds himself still gaining points on everyone else around him.
Yeah, absolutely. So not a bad day for the driver in that Porsche right there. A decent performance here in race number 1. Of course, not the race-winning performances that we're used to seeing him, but really it's not a massive issue for him. So there we go. There's our race results from the end of the sprint race.
Yeah, here is the race results. And Jeffrey Rietveld, P1. Gianmarco Finucci, P2. Probably driver of the day, just for that turn 1, down towards turn 1 run that got him from 5th up to 2nd. Enzo Benito then is in 3rd position with Tim Yarshall in 4th. Kevin Siggy in 5th spot. We've then got Dominic Blyer in 6th. Jacob Brzezinski in 7th. Then we've got a trio of the Germans. We've got Kripne in 8th, 9th from Moritz Lohner, and Marco Mad Dog Pejic in 10th position. Then we've got Yuri Toman, who is in 11th, Erhan Yayovsky 12th, Jack Keithley in 13th. We've then got Ben Spanky in 14th, Emre Chihan in 15th, Florian Hasser in 16th, Isaac Gillison, who we did see in 11th position for quite a considerable amount of time, unfortunately was involved in something that dropped him down to 17th spot. We then got Leandro Werle in 18th position, Alessandro Ottaviani in 19th, and we've got Julian Kunze in 20th spot. Leon Runiger is in 21st. We've then got Leon Carton in 22nd. Marcel Shinchik in 23rd. 24th for Nikodem Wisniewski. Then we've got Mitchell in 25th. Lucas Muller in 26th. Michal Neg in 27th. We've then got Delorme in 28th. Dreys in 29th. And Boldy in 30th position. And your final 2 drivers will be Isaac Price and Axel Vermeulen. Well, that was the first race in the books, and it is a win for Jeffrey Rietveld, Connery. But again, the day realistically belongs to Tim Yarshall, because all of his championship leaders, even though he finished in 4th, finished behind him.
Yep, so that's a net gain on his closest competitors. Absolutely, Moritz Lohner, really, 9th place. Still an okay finish for him. Would have probably hoped for a little bit more, but I have to wonder how much he's able to do with his particular car choice in this one. But yeah, it's still very comfortable for Yarshall. Great performance though from Rietveld, leading that thing from the front. It was a very mature drive from him today. But I got to say, Gianmarco Finucci, I guess he just sort of deserves driver of the race. I wouldn't say the day just yet. We got another race coming up, but at least the MVP of the race, there we go, is Gianmarco Finucci purely because of that start.
100%. If you are watching from around the world, get yourselves involved. If you're watching on Twitch or on YouTube, say hello. Let us know where you're watching from. Maybe you've got a favourite driver that you are indeed supporting. And maybe you're a sim racer yourself and you're on RaceRoom. Well, if you are, the cars that we are racing today, you can actually go out there and buy it. But let's have a look at how. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Cars, if you're on RaceRoom, you can go out there and get yourselves those packs right now. So yeah, go on, head over there and get yourself your favorite car, your favorite livery, or any of that good stuff. Right, let's check out, well, we're checking out Jeffrey Rietveld right now, who is looking cool, calm, and collected. Also, there's a big shine off his forehead with the light there, by the looks of things. That is a very bright room that he is in. But he is our first race winner of today, and he'll be looking to make it 2 from 2, Connery. Can you see anyone beating him? I'll be honest, I think there's sort of 4 or 5 drivers capable today. I think this is probably the most open race we've had from the championship so far.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't think a second Jeffrey Rietveld win is guaranteed here. There's so many drivers up towards the very top of the order which are so close to him. It's absolutely crazy. But we can get the feed from in-game right now, and these drivers just have a little bit of a warm-up session before they get themselves back at it for all intents and purposes. Of course, Dominic Blyer, he's, well, the only driver set a time in practice at the moment, and it's, you know, he's hoping for a bit of a better endurance race this time around, because that sprint race didn't go at all well. But of course, you know, from the benefit of longer races, if something does happen at the very start, you have a little bit more time to try and recover your race.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, looking at the grandstand there in the background, this place is very impressive. I've managed to commentate here a couple of times in real life, and from the commentary box, she's actually at the top of the grandstand. You can see the whole race circuit. It's actually a really unique place to go and watch races. I actually managed to go and stand on the roof of that grandstand, which is even more spectacular. But yeah, it's a very unique place. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere, and then you just get this incredible racing complex, which looks, you know, befitting of a Formula One kind of set of facilities. It's really quite a special place. We're on board then with Rietveld, who's out on circuit. And I will say one thing, Connery. Like, they've just done a race, they've just done a qualifying. I would be taking a break for 5 minutes, to be honest. I want to chill out. You know, there's just no stopping. And I guess it makes sense to keep yourself warm. It's all about muscle memory in sim racing, isn't it? You know, they're just doing laps over laps over laps over, you know, thousands in a week of practice. I guess it's all about just keeping that control.
Yeah, I think so too. You don't want to go cold from this sort of thing, right? You want to keep your head in the game. You want to keep doing those laps and hope that translates into some form of performance coming into the second race. Doesn't always, but some drivers will also have their little superstitions as well, won't they?
Yeah, they certainly will. You know, it is all about keeping yourself warm, keeping yourself occupied and ready to rock and roll. We've got qualifying coming up for you then. It is a little bit shorter this time round, ladies and gentlemen, cars. So it's 8 minutes of qualifying, and then we head into a 30-minute timed race with a pit stop. So they have to change all 4 tyres in this pit stop as well, and we have seen it work perfectly in terms of strategy. And actually, for the Norisring, staying out longer worked. It was the more beneficial. At the Nürburgring, coming in early was more beneficial. So I wonder what is going to be the case here at the Lausitzring. I think it's probably going to be like the Nürburgring, where coming in early is probably going to be beneficial.
Yeah, probably. That's certainly one way you can think about it. Although, I was going to say, like, you know, given it is a little bit, you know, easier to overtake here potentially, especially down in towards turn 6. We saw some moves down in towards turn number 1 as well. Maybe having fresher tyres is a little bit more beneficial in this particular race more than others. But whether that translates into pitting early being better, pitting late being better, that's still a bit of an unknown at this point. But I imagine you want that slight differential in the tyres to be able to make those moves a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree with you more. I always agree with you, Connery. You always talk sense. I'm the one that kind of comes out with rubbish.
Allegedly.
And you bring me back down to earth and come out with absolute fact and sense. I can assure you that wasn't Moritz Lohner. Moritz Lohner is there in the Mouse BMW, and he comes around then turn number 1. And as we come through then the chicane of S's, which makes up turns 2 and 3, as we then sweep the car back onto the oval section, which is turn number 4, and then you very quickly transition the car through the left-hand side. Now we head back onto the oval section, only very shortly, as we head then into a very wide braking zone. There's plenty of opportunities to make an overtake through here. We actually saw a couple of drivers make mistakes there through turn number 6, as we now come down towards turn number 7, which is a sweeping right-hander. All of the corners on the infield quite similar in that regard. It's all about, just maintaining speed through the mid part of the corner and trying not to overextend on the exit. There are gravel chaps that like to meet you. Come now towards turn number 8. You see the going. Get a lovely look there of Moritz Lohner. Now we're coming towards the final few corners into turn number 9. Now we've got 10 and then 11. Keeping it as far right as you possibly can to open up the left-hand side. Be very, very careful on the throttle. It's so easy to clip that wall. Just stick out before there's a real wall. Now we've got to run down towards the start-finish line. Moritz looking very cool, calm, and indeed composed. He's about to hit the reset button straight away. There we go. That's what his hand was moving. And Moritz Lohner goes up to P3. And our championship leader, while he was P1, is now P2. Nikodem Wisniewski is the driver that's now the quickest out there. Kevin Siggy is P3. And for Kevin, that's probably a talking point we should bring up. Kevin, realistically, needs to finish ahead of Yarshall here. Similarly to Wisniewski. Probably Jeffrey again. Jeffrey needs to finish ahead of Tim Yarshall and Moritz Lohner. I would say all of those drivers kind of just have to.
Yeah, it's all about trying to minimize the gap now, isn't it? You're not going to surmount that massive points differential in one race, even two, maybe even 3 races, but you can chip away at it, race to race to race, right? As long as you're consistently finishing ahead and Yarshall's not getting inside those top 3s, inside those top 5s, then those drivers may still have a chance at the championship once we get to our last round at Hockenheimring. So it's a long road. It's not, like I said, it's not going to happen in one race. But if it's the case now that the Porsche is perhaps not as good at this circuit as some of the BMWs are, or not the BMWs, excuse me, as some of the Audis are, and that continues as a theme for the rest of the circuits, then obviously Yarshall's going to be a little bit more concerned. But right now it is 2 Porsches that lead. Although saying that, Siggy just spoils exactly what I'm saying and puts that Audi on pole position.
Yeah, there's a fair chance of an 8-minute qualifying session. As soon as you open your mouth about someone going pole with 32 drivers, a very similar ability, that could be very short-lived. It was. But now Kevin Siggy is on pole position, about to start another flying lap. We've then got Moritz Lohner, who's flying. That looked a little bit on the edge around that final corner, I would say. And there it was. I think he just had a little bit of a slide. It was quick, but there was just a little bit of a slide into that final corner. It's Tim Yarshall. Oh, pressure, what pressure. Championship leader. He's been on pole twice this session and been chipped off of it very quickly. He's now up there for a 3rd time, and this time by nearly 300th of a second.
Yep, fantastic time for the championship leader. Here's Jacob Brzezinski, who had a decent race number 1, up on his personal best here at the moment as well. So looking like a half-decent lap for Jacob here at the moment. In terms of other drivers, Leonard Krippner is up by 0.5 of a second on his personal best time here at the moment. Ottaviani is coming towards the end of the lap. He wasn't the greatest through Sector 1, but let's see what he's able to make of this one.
I will say one thing. If you're in a BMW, we've seen that car seems to be very good at the start of a race. So if Moritz can get himself somewhere handy in the top 5, there is an opportunity there to make up a couple of positions early on in this race. As we see Jakob Brzezinski then. He's just split the 2 red line cars of Rietveld and Benito. Rietveld, of course, winning our first race today. Nikodem Wisniewski, though, is absolutely flying here around the final corner using all of that curb to rotate the car. We've got Ottaviani, who's also in a Porsche, up to a top 5 for RAG. What about Nikodem Wisniewski? It was a great qualifying in the first race, but he got involved in an incident through turn number 1 with his ex-teammate. What about this time? Well, it's pole position there. It is a 21.2. It is 300th clear of Yarshall. And for the 2nd time this session, he has scuppered Yarshall off that top spot. He's up to P1 himself.
I'm sitting here waiting for a time from Benito. At least that's competitive inside the top 3, but he seemingly hasn't been able to hook it together just yet. And a poor Sector 1 is not ideal, so he's starting to run out of time a little bit here to get himself solidly inside that top 5. Rietveld, good enough for 3rd place on the starting grid. That's the race 1 winner right there. It seems like the Porsches of Wisniewski and Yarshall have really come to the fore in this 2nd qualifying session. Here comes Gianmarco Fiducci to start a lap right now. Well, it's going to be the last opportunities now for drivers to get their spots on the starting grid, and it's it's a bit of a different set of circumstances compared to race number 1.
It certainly is. He's only 2 spots further back, and he'll fancy his chances into turn 1 to grab a couple of extra spots as well. Dominic Blythe just moves up into a top 6 position as we now head below that 2-minute mark. Nikodem Wisniewski, his first sector is 0.07 of a second, nearly 1/10 of a second faster than he's gone before. We're about to see the end of sector number 2. You can see that white line below that will tell you when it's over, and he's still up on his time then. Just merely a few corners to negotiate here then for the Polish G2 driver. Wisniewski looking to try and guarantee that pole position. The final sector, though, is the sector that keeps scuppering people. It's very, very hard on the tyres, and it's very, very difficult to be absolutely spot on. I'll tell you what, that is as close to being spot on as you're likely to see them. Round the final corner, the fact that he has not reset says to me he does like this. Up towards the line then for Nikodem. He's currently 300ths clear. How much clearer is he going to be now? Oh boy, that's quick. That is lightning. 1.1, and he finds himself 0.08 of a second faster than our championship leader. Wisniewski, that is beautiful.
Beautiful lap. Here comes Tim Yarshall, personal bests here at the moment. Let's see what he's able to do coming towards the line. Doesn't even cross it. Takes the toe back towards the pit lane. Not pit lane, but the starting point.
No, he did. He did cross it. He went 0.05 of a second faster. It was 8.1 and that's 7.6, so he did go faster. Kevin Siggy, is he about to find any extra time? That's not a way of doing it, I can assure you of that. As his teammate Enzo Benito goes up into a top 5, and right now you've got 3rd, 4th, 5th, all red line drivers, which they can provide a wall for anybody else in behind. Moritz Lohner, who's currently about 0.08 of a second off of what would be pole position. This would be good enough if he doesn't mess up the final sector to go up into 3rd spot. But I just think the BMW really does struggle with that final sector. Very close to that wall. You wouldn't want to be any closer. Otherwise, that green bit of wall is going to turn red and a little bit of white as we go across the line then for Moritz Lohner. Does he go any faster? Does he find any extra positions? No, he doesn't. The final sector again, scuppering him. And it's a top 10 for Moritz Lohner, our champion a couple of years ago. But it looks like Nikodem Wisniewski has got pole position here, ladies and gentlemen. And that will be our 4th different pole sitter of the season. Tim Yarshall's got 3, Moritz has got 1, Jeffrey Rietveld's got 1, and now Nikodem Wisniewski. Tim Yarshall, though, I think is the most important stat of the day, is going to start on the front row of the grid. And he just looks good. He looks really good. Even on a week where it looks like the car might not be the fastest on the grid, he's still getting big results compared to his championship rivals. So yeah, Tim Yarshall is there to stay.
Yeah, absolutely. Helped by the fact that it seems like the Audis in this qualifying session just weren't able to put a lap together, just sort of as a collective. It was really weird to see. Maybe the conditions are slightly different in this race compared to the last one. You know, that can affect things, but yeah, it was kind of weird seeing that. You know, Enzo Benito not getting inside the top 3. Of course, you had Rietveld there. Well, he got 3rd place, of course, but it's, you know, he was still quite a margin off the pole position setting time. So not as close to a qualifying session here in the qualifying for race 2 as it was in the qualifying for race 1. But you know, the benefit of being in race 2 is that we get a bit of a longer race and more opportunities for these drivers to get into battles, especially when you factor in the strategy situation where these guys have to come down towards the pit lane. There isn't an option to not, and you have to take tyres. So you will take the fresh tyres in the middle, or roughly in the middle of this race, depending on when you decide to come in. So a lot of things can still change. Just ask Dominic Blyer in race 1.
Yeah, we've got 3 cars I want to look at during this race, by the way, after the first couple of laps. I want to look at Christian Michael's car. I want to look at Julian Kuntz's car because they've both got really cool liveries with their name on the side. And we've actually had a request here from Pranav to look at Leandro Werle's car. So let's have a look at those 3 during this race at some point. We've got 30 minutes. But, of course, we've got to deal with the race start here at the Lausitzring. It is a kind of an oval circuit, but more of a triangle oval. That makes sense. I'm trying to think what would be the for people outside of Europe, what would be the most, like Pocono, I guess. Yeah, like Pocono. A little bit similar to Pocono. It is a very unique circuit in that regard, and it has seats all the way around the track, around the oval part, and then you've got the big grandstand. As we do indeed have our formation lap. Partnership with Cupra and DTM has been going strong for a few years now, and this is the first time in any series on RaceRoom that we've actually had a pace car in the Cupra. So Cupra will take us away, and we've got a full lap here of the Lausitzring. Oh, right, let me know who you're watching, who you're supporting, guys, where you're watching from around the world. That would be really nice and cool. We've got ourselves about 2 minutes before we get right into the racing action. But it is Nikodem Wisniewski. He is the driver at the sharp end of the grid. He will start on pole position, and then he'll bring us away with another Porsche, his championship leader, Tim Yarshall.
So, drivers working their way through the fields, rather through the racetrack, I guess, on this formation lap. Of course, trying to calm the nerves for the drop of the green flag here, thinking about that strategy. Do you come down in early? Do you come down in late? That might depend on the exact set of circumstances you find yourself in this race. If you're stuck in a bit of traffic, maybe you didn't have a great qualifying session, then you might be tempted to come down in a little bit earlier to try and get some undercut action going. But yeah, it's not always been the fastest strategy here. It's definitely going to be a little bit of a coin toss as to which one is going to reap the benefits at the very end of the race. So the starting order, of course, you have Wisniewski, who is able to get himself a an absolutely fantastic qualifying time in the second qualifying session for this endurance race. Tim Yarshall's up there as the championship leader as well, looking to try and continue on his march towards a championship win as we get ready for this race start. Here we go then. Green flag here in race 2. In the DTM eSports Pro Championship, charging our way down in towards turn number 1 here. It looks like it's going to be a big challenge for Wisniewski in a side-by-side battle at the very front of the field to try and get that, try and maintain that P1. It's a big stack up behind, big wreck indeed as well. Multiple drivers involved in this as they all try to stack up, heading their way through there. A little bit of a mess. Cars off of the circuit as well. Julian Kunze, Enzo Benito is involved in this one as he's down towards the very last place at this point as well. Dominic Blyer has had another poor start, caught up in that instant as well. He's down towards P26 here at the moment. There's a little bit of chaos here off the starts here, Luke, that has really affected a good couple of the top drivers that were starting inside that top 10. Seems like we're having a little bit of a technical issue here with Luke, but I'm sure he'll be back in the not too distant future. But yeah, that's not what you want to see at the start of one of these races. A couple of cars getting into a little bit of a tangle. We didn't get great detail of exactly what happened there. But either way, you know, stewards will have a look at all of these incidents after the race and apply any penalties in case they are warranted. But it's Wisniewski that's leading at the moment from Jeffrey Reepdale, from your championship leader of Tim Yarshall. Then you got Kevin Siggy in 4th place with Otto Viani getting himself inside of the top 5. Moritz Lohner actually having himself a good start there, up into 6th place here at the moment. So all get themselves single file down in towards the S's here in the very early stages of this race. In terms of cars further back through the field, well, many are going to be on recovery drives here at the moment. There's Leon Rudinger involved in a little bit of a battle here with Leandro Verla. So the Pranav in the chat that wanted to see Leandro Verla on the screen, well, you've got him, and he's in fact involved in a bit of a battle with Rudinger here at the moment. Isaac Price in the G2 eSports Porsche on the outside looking into this one as well. Fiducci is one that got caught up in the incident as well. Oh no! Isaac Price spun around in front of traffic, stacks everyone else up behind. We got 3 wide back there in some form or fashion. It's been a very, very scrappy race for a lot of drivers here involved. Not what you want to see. I don't think there was, well, I didn't see any immediate contact there. Might have been just the back end getting away from Isaac Price here. Here's the battle between Leonard Carter and now Julian Kunze involved in this one, trying to put up the defense. And now Dominic Blyer on the recovery drive around the outside, trying to get that pass done as well, trying to follow through the tyre tracks of the Porsche ahead of him. Side-by-side battle continuing on here, back down through the field, where some of these drivers perhaps are not used to being after that initial incident across the line. They will immediately come. A couple of drivers sort of starting to have a little bit of a peek towards the inside. Here's Gianmarco Fiducci down the inside of Leon Rudinger. Runinger trying to defend this one. It is very tough to do through this S's section, and Fiducci is through. Excuse me, that was Leandro Verla that was trying to put up the defense there. He ends up getting past, however. Big stack up behind Ben Spanky and Philip Trace are basically bumper to bumper through that particular sequence of corners. A lot of action to talk about here in the early stages of this endurance race of the DTM eSports Championship at the Nürburgring. Let's have a little bit of an update towards the front of the field. It is Wisniewski that is from Red Rietveld, and look at the gap they've started to develop already over Tim Yarshall. They are on another level in terms of pace, it seems like, at this very early stage. Yarshall not able to keep up with them. Oh, Ottaviani. Ottaviani's dropping down the order, and Ottaviani is out in the grass. What has happened there, I don't know. But look at the stream of cars that are coming through on his left-hand side. He's got to be careful about the rejoin and coming back across the racing line in front of Philip Trace there. I don't think Trace would have really appreciated that Porsche coming across and cutting off his nose a little bit. Involved in the battle now, trying to cycle through, but Ottaviani having a terrible time of it, and I'm seeing more drivers have issues. Oh, that's a big incident. That's the driver of Leonard Krippner. Krippner having a big incident towards the back end of the lap. That is a really weird place to lose it, coming through there. This is the point where I wish we had replays, because oh my word, these some of these incidents have been very weird indeed and very, very messy, and the stewards are going to have their work cut out for the very end after this race, trying to sort out who did what and to see if any potential penalties apply in this situation. But yeah, chaotic race start, all things considered. There's the two RAG eSports Porsches, Jofsky and Toman, sort of stuck together like glue, like they were in the first race. And Luke, I get good word that you're back, and you missed quite a bit there, mate.
Well, I kind of heard a little bit of it and then didn't. Unfortunately, my router decided to die twice there. I had to reset it. I'm back though, and that is the beauty of working from home. These things can indeed happen. But yeah, we're looking on board with Jofsky and behind Brzezinski, Pajic. You've got PC a little bit further up the road as well. And I guess really the only thing you can say about this situation is that Tim Yarshall, the one who's leading this championship, wasn't involved in it. So not only is he managing to get good performances out there, but he's also having that fortune of not being involved in anyone else's business.
Yeah, it's just settled perfectly in Yarshall's favour at the moment. Yes, you know, Rietveld's ahead of him. Yes, Wisniewski's ahead of him. That potentially might be an issue if that happens a little bit too often in the back end of this season. But otherwise, you know, seeing the rest of his the rest of his challengers really fall by the wayside here is going to make him a very happy driver indeed. By the way, pit window is open here, Luke. So if the drivers did want to pit super duper early, then they might have the opportunity to.
I think for someone like Enzo Benito, it's kind of a must-do. Has to come in early, try and jump the traffic in front of him. You know, if you can jump people by a couple of seconds and find a decent track position, you can maybe move up sort of 5, 6, 7 positions. So yeah, I think for someone like Enzo Benito, it's absolutely vital that he brings it in. Maybe even Dominic Dwyer as well. So yeah, definitely something they could for sure look at. A little bit further up, Julian Kunze. I want to have a look at Julian Kunze's livery. And there we go, Chris as well. They've got their name on the side in really cool writing. I think that's really nice. And I think more sim racing teams should look to do things like that, make their cars. Oh, hello. Well, oh, you just saw what's happening here. That must be a very strange camera angle. I'm sorry. Yeah. I get this all out there. We're on the sprint layout, so I'm wondering. Oh dear. Oh no, Isaac Gillison. Wow, he's like a happy dog chasing his tail there. Yeah, they all decided to bring the car in early. I was a bit perplexed then, like what's going on here? Of course, the pit entry is quite far, quite far away from the end of the lap there. So they've all dived in, and about 10 cars come in to the pits there. Also, Leandro Werle's car. Where is Leandro Werle? Has he decided to come in? He's probably gone up the order. We've got to have a look at Leandro's car as well. Currently P31. We had Pranav in the chat, the manager of the team. Well, we're not going to. Yeah, we'll have a little look at it a little bit later on, I guess. The BMW is just about to come back out of the pits. But yeah, I thought we were going to see people come in really early, or you know, someone like Benito has stayed out. Benito is probably going to try and gain position by people being early. Do we see a big mistake there? Oh dear, that is not good. Is that Benton?
Gillison.
There we go. Isaac Gillison. Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, he's not had the best day, has he? Coming back on towards the onto the circuit now, and yeah, licking his wounds. So, Giro Baldi speeding the pit lane. That's not a penalty you want to see.
Oh, well, that's both of the Ferrari cars not having a good day then. They've both just received penalties at the very same, well, I say received penalties. Innocent spun the car. As Morris Lerner is the first of our real race leaders that has decided to bring the car into the pit. I tell you what, Delorme might be on for one of his best finishes he's had so far this season. Currently in P24, but of course he's done his pit stop. So keep an eye out on the Frenchman and see how far up the order he can go.
Yeah, there he is, out on circuit right now. Hasn't had, well, much of an excuse for us to talk about him over the course of this season so far. Drives in the BMW from CMT Go Team Racing and doing rather well here in this race too. Of course, we had all of that chaos on the start, which I don't know how much of you saw it, Luke, but it was up and down the field sort of thing, and it seems like Delorme just sort of kept his nose clean, is able to pick himself through it in quite an efficient manner, and has got himself in a decent position right now. You know, you see the likes of Enzo Benito down the order. You got Otto Viani down the order. Fiducci was down the order as well. You had a lot of decent names have very poor starts. Dominic Blyer was one of them as well, who had a big instant through the final corner, and I couldn't figure out for the life of me how, because it's not a place where you really go off.
No, oh well, that's the wonderful art of sim racing. There's always an incident at any part of the circuit, especially someone like me. There's a place you can find an off-track or a place you can crash that maybe had never been discovered before. I'll discover it, that's for sure. There's Rietveld, as you're right, he is into the pits here. Jack Heatley also into the pits as well, and joined by him is his teammate Kevin Siggy. So Rietveld and Siggy in together. We saw Rietveld go by. Nikodem Wisniewski now leads the way. And I think the most important thing here is that Tim Yarshall's got the fastest lap of the race, and he will now have that clear air to try and close into Wisniewski. There might be an opportunity here with that clear track, and we've seen it be so important to, have that clear track out in the lead of the race. You're able to drive away. You might be able to push into that gap, thus making it very difficult for Rietveld, who was in that position, and they might even come out very, very close once the pit stop phase is ended.
Yeah, Rietveld in. Siggy in, Keithley in. So, we see them coming out of the pit lane now. Whether they come out in relation to their competitors, Rietveld comfortably out ahead of pretty much everyone behind. So he's in a very good position here at the moment. Not too much of a worry for him. He's got, and the closest driver behind him is his teammate, so it's not exactly a hugely pressure-filled situation. In terms of those drivers yet to come in, well, actually, we have race leaders in, so there we go. Wisniewski and Tim Yarshall have come down in at the exact same time, exact same lap.
Okay, one winner here is Morris Lerner. Morris Lerner's right behind Siggy and Rietveld. So he's managed to gain a bit here. Wisniewski has come in. I guess that's just a case of, and Tim Yarshall actually, they've both just decided to come in just to cover it off, make sure that there is, no room for error in this situation. But yeah, Morris Lerner has just creeped up onto the back of the two red line cars, and gaining position here. Nikodem Wisniewski, of course, is now stationary, very much the same as Tim Yarshall. Whereabouts in track is Jeffrey Rietveld? Well, he's coming around the final corner now. I'm not sure he's going to be close enough to, make a move for the lead. But it's going to be very spicy on the exit. But there is Wisniewski. We come then down across the start-finish line. Tim Yarshall is yet to get going. There we go. He should drop now, and we're off, and we are down towards turn number one. Rietveld, of course, at full speed now, whereas those two will have to be on the pit limiter and then head through the pit exits. Tim Yarshall is actually going to lose out here big time, and Jeffrey Rietveld is closing right up onto the back of Nikodem Wisniewski. And wow, Tim Yarshall nearly lost out to Kevin Siggy. Kevin Siggy, I think, has to go for it now. He has to have that overlap through this next left-hander and send it up the inside. There's no two ways about it. He's on the curbing, and right now he has to make this work. So we're coming down towards another left-hander. It is a big break zone. He will have to tie us up to temperature. He decides against it. Yarshall then on the defensive. This is really where you've got to pounce like a panther. You have to put pressure on Yarshall as his tyres are cold.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a very, very small window that you can try and capitalize on this situation if you're Kevin Siggy, and every single corner that goes by, the opportunity starts to happen. You have a little bit of a less chance of happening. You can see the move. You can see the defensive line being taken by Yarshall. He's scared of this situation as well. Siggy really applying so much pressure to the rear end of that Porsche and giving Yarshall a run for his money. Again, shallow into the long right.
Yeah, if I think if you're Kevin here, be clever, try and get a run down towards turn one. He's sliding that rear all around, maybe looking to go a little bit too early. Moritz Lohner, by the way, is very close behind me. He's probably in a net P6. And yeah, I think the opportunity's gone. I think if Kevin just was a little bit more wary around his final couple of corners, he might have had an opportunity down towards turn number one. But Tim Yarshall has warded off that pressure nicely and ultimately holds on to what is net fourth on the track. We think Jacob Brzezinski's going to come out involved here. Might be net third, actually. But yeah, we'll find out sooner rather than later. The other drivers have to come in and pick. Kevin Siggy, though, we feel like the opportunity is lost. He's got Moritz Lohner in behind. The two previous DTM champions, they're never that far apart in any race we ever have.
Absolutely not. And, well, Siggy's trying to, you can see by the body language of the car, he's still trying to dig deep here to try and make sure that Yarshall doesn't get away, but I think that sort of is inevitable at this stage. But another bit of a pit party going on. Brzezinski, Jajowski, Vermeulen, Blyer, Hübner, Hasse all in at this stage in the race. Thoman, Xian, Rudiger, Price all staying out in this situation, trying to play the long game. Of course, that will give them the slightly fresher tyres for the very back end of the race, so then they can try to improve positions that way. But it seems like everyone's sort of either coming down early or sort of halfway, slightly past halfway. It seems like the going super long is not a very popular strategy.
I love that, Connery. Everybody's coming in slightly early or just halfway or just over halfway, and we're just over the halfway point of the race. So anyone else that comes in after that point will be coming in late, I guess. So nice analogy, I guess. We'll go with it.
Fantastic analogy. All I'm saying is that that sometimes we see drivers try to extend their fuel tanks as much as possible, right? But that seems not to be the case here. It's not the done thing, apart from 8 drivers.
No, that is a fact for sure. Tim Yarshall holding on to the net P3. Remember, the group ahead have yet to hit Yuri Thomas down pit road now. We've got Emre Cihan following as well. Rudiger has stayed out, I believe. Yes, Rudiger, Isaac Price, and Muller's into the pits. Carton is into the pit as well. And so that means that Rudiger will get a lead lap of this race. Isaac Price will be in second position. There is Leon Rudiger. Again, there's some really nice liveries a bit further down the grid. Obviously, we don't get to see them as often due to them, not being at the sharp end. But this is a nice livery on Leon Rudiger's car. Isaac Price then in the G2 livery, of course. Very similar to like the likes of Ferrari G2 eSports now in Formula One, where you just it looks the same pretty much every season, but you know it's G2.
Yeah, absolutely. They sort of have a monopoly on that sort of clean black colour scheme right now, don't they? I mean, it is the white and black are the team colours. I mean, they've been used in their esports teams for literally forever. But yeah, it's very minimal, very plain.
Yeah, Marko Pejic looking to try and make a move here. He's side by side then with Yuri Thoman. Yuri Thoman just about had his nose ahead. I think Marko may have been in the lead for about, I don't know, a couple of hundredths of a second as they now run down towards the infield. Well, this could be very good for RAG. If Yuri Thoman slows down on the apex, it might give an opportunity for Erhan Jajowski to maybe come through. So will RAG play the team game here and gain a position for Erhan, or are we going to see some really aggressive driving here, potentially from Marko Pejic that makes up one position? Can he move over and outbrake down towards the left-hander? He cannot. He's a bit further behind. Yuri Thoman lives to fight another day.
Does, but this train's still all stacked up here, and of course you got Erhan Jajowski looking to try and get involved in this as well. Of course, the two RAG teammates will be very appreciative of the fact that they're in, basically the same postcode here at the moment. I'm not sure if there's much that Yuri Thoman can do for Jajowski here at the moment, although Jajowski is going to get a very decent run coming out of the final corner here, may be able to make something happen in towards turn 1, but conscious of the fact that Pejic will have a very similar slipstream off of his teammate directly ahead, looking towards the inside. No commitment and no opportunity to commit to that particular move.
No, not any commitment. Leandro Worley, by the way, has made an overtake with Michal Negler in the pits. Check out Worley. We did promise to show Leandro on stream. He's in 20th position as it stands in behind Ben's Banky. And there we go. There is the Visceral eSports car. And the two BMWs fighting for his 19th position. So you've got Bentonanke up ahead, Ottaviani a little bit further ahead of them. Then in that Porsche, Axel Vermeulen, we haven't seen him, the Belgian, running sort of nearer the sharper end. Many opportunities this season, but he's doing okay today. In behind Fiducci, Michel then in 15th. And there is Delorme, by the way. Delorme, who was P30 in the championship coming into today. And this will be his best performance so far this season, at P14. Just to put into context of his results so far this season, 23rd, 28th, 18th, and 30th. So P14 right now is the best performance so far of this season. And yeah, doing a very, very good job of it. Keeping himself out of trouble, of course. He has been caught by a couple of cars behind him, so that will be difficult to keep them behind. Yeah, Remy Delorme doing a really good job.
Doing absolutely fantastic indeed, and well, he's, you know, his job's not done just yet. Still 9 minutes left to go in this race, and Michel and Fiducci are looking to try and come through on him. Of course, Fiducci in particular is going to be on his recovery drive from his issues at the very start of this race, so he's going to be looking very racy at this stage, at this very late stage in this endurance race. So I don't think Delorme can really relax at this point, especially considering how close those cars are right behind.
Yep, no, you're not wrong. There's no real time to breathe here for Remy Delorme. If he wants to get that P14, he's absolutely going to have to work for it. He's got right behind him Michel and Fiducci, especially Fiducci, who's had form to be right at the sharp end of the grid the entirety of this season. What has Fiducci's results been so far this season? He's had an 8th and a 4th, 14th and a 20th, so he's a little bit out of position, although his last race result was only in P20. Leon Rudiger, who did lead then momentarily, is down the pit lane. We've also got Isaac Price, everyone's favourite sim racer, down the pit lane, as well as the pit window will close in 40 seconds, but no need to worry for anybody, as everybody has now got that green mark next to their name. They are all golden. On to our now race leader, not net leader, race leader, Nikodem Wisniewski, who has the lead now by about 1.5 seconds. It should be pretty manageable from here to Jeffrey Rietveld. Good day for Jeffrey, though, P1 and a P2. And then you've got that battle for that final podium spot between Kevin Siggy and Tim Yarshall. Something's got to give there, and I think if Kevin Siggy has aspirations of going out and winning this championship, I think he has to go out there. I think he has to go and make an overtake here. He has to finish ahead of Tim Yarshall in this race.
He's keeping him honest so far, but I don't think he has the pace differential to even get that car alongside the German here at the moment. It's a very tricky situation for Siggy. It's certainly, you know, a situation he's seen before. Yes, I mean, a lot of these drivers have so much experience that, you know, this is not going to be a foreign concept to them, but I don't think he just quite has the edge just yet. I would love to be proved wrong in this situation. I would love to see a competitive fight for the final podium position, but right now, Siggy is there, just doesn't quite have that advantage.
I think Siggy could do really with a little bit of help from his teammate, but unfortunately for Siggy, unfortunately for Rietveld, I think Jeffrey's catching up to Wisniewski, so the gap is coming down. So that race victory with 7 minutes to go on the clock. It's still on for Jeffrey. Would love to get 2 wins today. That'd be perfect for him, and actually would shoot him back up into championship contention for sure as we head towards that. Well, we are in the halfway point now after this race, aren't we, of the championship. Moritz Lohner, who's managed to get himself into the top 5. His race pace has been good this season. His qualifying pace has not been there. That maybe the car not quite performing, with the BOP, and I'm sure the BMW will be strong during the next phases of this championship over the next 3 races. But his race pace has been exceptional, and that's what you expect from Moritz. When the points are handed out, he always seems to be there or thereabouts.
Both Moritz and Siggy were faster than the race leader that last lap. So it does seem to be the pace is there for the both of them, and you can see Siggy's trying to leverage that in terms of applying pressure to the back of Yarshall, but again, it's just not working out. Actually, Yarshall in the 1:21.5s that last time by, that was full 1/10 of a second, actually full 1/10 of a second faster than what Wisniewski's time was last lap as well. So Yarshall putting in the qualifying laps, I suppose, to try and offset some really good performance so far for Siggy. It must be such a frustrating situation for the latter.
Yeah, Jeffrey, I believe, is about half a tenth quicker than Wisniewski this time round as well. So Wisniewski maybe just losing a bit of pace in the latter stages, but it's half a tenth a lap. You know, it's going to take 30 laps for them to catch him, so he's not going to be worried about it. And maybe just managing the situation. He actually has the fastest lap of this race as well, Wisniewski. and they're looking golden at picking up a race victory. Simple as that. Currently this season, the race winners have been Marcel Shinchik, which was race number 1, Tim Yarshall in race number 2. We had Nikodem Wisniewski in race number 3, race number 4, Kevin Siggy, race number 5 was Jeffrey Rietveld, and I think we might be about to see our first repeat winner of the season. So Nikodem Wisniewski looking very, very good indeed. Jack Heathley has got Brzezinski and Yuri Toman as a bit of a party behind, and then there's another trio of cars, some side-by-side action. I think Emre Cihan is trying to make a move here on Marko Pajic. We head then on to the infield here of our Lausitzring circuit. That Fordilla Porsche, sounds a bit strange, moves himself up into a top 10.
Great stuff indeed for Cihan. Top 10 opportunity so far. I wouldn't see it done. I won't call it done just yet, especially as Pajic is still there, still ready to fight, and any open door will all of a sudden have a big BMW put in it. So it's you still have to be very, very careful here if you're Emre Cihan. Although Cihan is actually, you can be forgiven for actually focusing ahead here a little bit, because Yayovsky is there, and is not setting the lap times alight too much. So potentially might be an opportunity here to have the final four.
Wisniewski, by the way, who was being caught by everybody, and has just responded with a lap that's a couple of tenths faster than everybody. Yes, he's just absolutely flying now. So Wisniewski not feeling any kind of pressure. Again, will be our first repeat winner of the season. Jeffrey Rietveld, 1.6 seconds behind his second. Tim Yarshall, 3.1 seconds off the lead in total, and then he's got Kevin Siggy right behind him. Siggy, is there an opportunity on the final couple of laps for him to move up into that podium spot? He wants to win the DTM eSports Championship. He has to finish ahead of him in this race. I think it's going to be very difficult if he loses more points to him today as we head towards the halfway point of the season. And you've got Moritz Lohner in behind, who would be loving the fact that these two started battling for a couple of laps. Might bring him into play. Right now, as it stands, the front two, they're almost home and home.
Yeah, they are. It's a very comfortable situation for both Wisniewski and Rietveld. They're in a bit of no man's land here at the moment. No pressure from behind, nothing to really look at ahead. So they're just sort of cruising to the end now. And I'm seeing Siggy drop off the back of Yarshall here at the moment as well. So I think this battle may be, for all intents and purposes, done. It's just a matter of not making a mistake here for Yarshall at the moment, I think.
I tell you what, you could actually put an argument that Nikodem Wisniewski is the form driver of this championship so far this season. Like, his results coming into today was 4th, DNF, 1st and 3rd. So that DNF, he doesn't have that, then, the whole landscape of this championship looks different. And the only reason he was out of the top 5 in the first race was because of an incident, right?
Yeah.
So I think if the misfortune wasn't there for Nikodem, and maybe we get an interview with him today, he's won this race, so hopefully we will get an interview with him today. We can have a little discussion about that DNF, and of course we can have a little bit of a discussion about the incident, because I genuinely think he would be, there or thereabouts, maybe not on the same points as Tim Yarshall, but I think he'd be within sort of 10, 15 points of him. That DNF and the incident in race number 1 today had a massive effect on Nikodem's potential championship hopes.
Yeah, absolutely massive. I mean, the topic of discussion has been throughout most of the season so far is like, who's going to beat Yarshall? Is Yarshall even beatable? And we were missing that sort of boatload of points that Wisniewski could have scored in the early part of the season, but wasn't able to because of that DNF, because of the incident. So it's a bit of a struggle to talk about the championship because of that, but Wisniewski doing all that he needs to do so far, has almost 2 seconds over Rietveld here at the moment, so looking pretty good indeed. A little bit of a fight going on ahead though. Brzezinski really having a scrap with that Williams eSports driver of Jack Heathley ahead. This got close all of a sudden again. So,
seems like the story of the day really, apart from the front of the grid. It's been G2 versus Williams, and more importantly, the ex-Williams drivers against their ex-teammates. Seems to be the story of the day so far today. But this time round, Jack Heathley, wily old Fox, RaceRoom veteran, not going to blink there, not going to lose a position, so top 6 for him, which in terms of his performance so far this season, where is Jack Heathley in the championship? A lot further down the order than I would have anticipated when this championship started. He's had a 25th and a 19th, and then he's had 2 6th positions in a row coming into today. So this will be his third sixth out of the last 4 races. And yeah, starting to maybe build a top 5 run.
Well, 3 seconds left on the clock, and Wisniewski's through the final corner here, Luke.
It certainly is, and well, it's been a very impressive display from Nicodem. Had a bit of a mistake or got involved in an altercation in race number 1. He's had a DNF this season, but I tell you what, his form is that of Tim Yarshall. To be completely honest, if he didn't have that DNF and didn't have that incident, I think maybe we would be talking about a very close battle between the front two. It is a race victory here then for our 6th race of the season. And well, what a way to do it. I think he's also got the fastest lap of the race. But Nikodem Wisniewski does take P1. Jeffrey Rietveld finishes in 2nd. Tim Yarshall in 3rd. Kevin Siggy 4th. Moritz Lohner 5th. Jack Eatley in 6th. Then got Brzezinski in 7th. Yuri Toman 8th. Erhan Yayovsky 9th. Emre Cihan is in 10th position. Marko Pajic in 11th. Delorme in 12th. They got Michel in 13th. 14th. Then 4th. Fiducci. Vermeulen and Ottaviani find themselves in 15th and 16th. Then got Price and Rudinger in 17th and 18th. Benz Banky and Worley are in 19th and 20th. By the way, shout out to Delorme, because he didn't get swamped by the cars around him. He went from 14th to 12th, and that's his best finish of the season so far. Congratulations to him. Lucas Muller and Dreys. We've then got Neg and Benitez, your top 24. Blyer, Kunzer. Then got Kripner, Carton, Hasser, and Marcel Shinchik, who has been a race winner so far this season. Then we've got him so good, he's there twice. Isaac Gillison and Gergo Boldy, both for the Ferrari eSports team. We saw them both have an issue on the same lap. One was a drive-through, one was a spin, and they find themselves at the back of the grid. With this field, with how good they are, how closely back they are in terms of time, any kind of spin or drive-through, that is instantly you at the back of the grid. Well, there you go, Connery. It's the halfway point of the season. I think it's going to be quite comfortably a lead for Tim Yarshall. I think if we didn't have a DNF and we didn't have race number 1 incidents with Nikodem Wisniewski, it could be a whole different story. But it isn't. Tim Yarshall is going to have a comfortable lead heading into the second half.
Yep, I think so too. Well, I mean, it's not a matter of thinking. Knowing is probably a better word there to use. But what we did see in this particular event is that Tim Yarshall's not completely dominant. Of course, there are some circuits where the Porsche's just not going to be the best car or going to be falling short compared to the others, and he's going to have to try and navigate that for the rest of the season. And so yeah, I mean, it gives a little bit of optimism to some of the other drivers, are saying, okay, but, race wins, are still possible here, given the right set of circumstances. Making sure I nail that qualifying, making sure that the race pace is comfortable as well, and you might find yourself ahead of Yarshall at some point. But I think even being, like you said, a couple of positions ahead of Yarshall every race for the rest of this season is not even necessarily going to be enough when it comes to championship.
No, it's all about building a championship. You can't, win the championship in the first couple of rounds, but you can absolutely lose it. Tim Yarshall's put himself in a position now where he just needs to be good. He's been exceptional so far, but now he just needs to be good. And if you've got yourself, 12 out of 12 top 5, you probably become the DTM eSports champion. He has not only got himself loads of top 5s every single race so far, a top 5, he's managed to get a couple of seconds and he's managed to get a race win, which just makes him very, very difficult to beat. Nikodem Wisniewski with very similar results, apart from, of course, being involved in an accident in race number 1 today and a DNF. Maybe we'll be talking about him in the same way. Jeffrey Rietveld, he is now starting to push towards, obviously, a race win earlier on today and a P2 today. So he is going to close that gap. He started today in 5th position of the championship. So he was, 3 spots below our championship leader. Maybe he's the driver that could potentially close that gap. Nikodem Wisniewski himself, if he didn't have that bad first race there, I'd be saying the same about him. But unfortunately, just 2 bad races, and it almost renders you out of the championship hunt.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, Rietveld is in a decent spot at the moment. For the viewer in chat that said, I want someone who's Dutch or from Redline to win. Well, you've got both of them in that situation. the budget Max Verstappen, which I'm sure he'll be fine with me calling him that. Being a budget Max Verstappen is probably a very high amount of praise, right?
Leave Jeffrey alone. Max is the budget Jeffrey Rietveld, in my opinion. But yeah, look, it's great to be in that team environment. Redline are doing very well this year, aren't they? And it maybe not been the best start for them so far in the DTM eSports, but today Jeffrey really did announce himself in this championship. Someone who needs a bit of confidence. We saw him last year in Rennsport, and he may have struggled in the first season, but once he got going, he had Gamers 8 last year. He was unbelievable. He's someone who just needs a bit of confidence, and he's like a rocket ship then. The sky is the absolute limit. Right, let's check out the rest of this the calendar for the season. Of course, we do head to the halfway point now of the season. We've finished Lausitzring. We've had 6 races so far. But next time out, we head to the Sachsenring, which will be on the 5th of April. So we've got 1 week gap then between, of course, today and then. Then we head to the Red Bull Ring on the 12th of April, and then we head to round 6, the Hockenheimring, which indeed is on the 19th of April. Right, we've got some awards to look at, Connery, as well, of course. We've got the fastest lap award, and we've also got the pole position award as well. So the pole position award is going to win themselves, a nice Ashet steering wheel. And well, the fastest lap award goes today to Nikodem Wisniewski. So he got himself a 1:21.367, which was in the race. Of course, we saw a little bit quicker in terms of qualifying. And again, that was at the Lausitzring, which is where we've been racing today. In terms of the pole position award, I think we've also got a graphic for that as well. There we go. So as you can see, Tim Yarshall leads the way still with 3. And then we've got a 3-way tie for second spot. So we've got Moritz Lohner, we've got Jeffrey Rietveld, and we've got Nikodem Wisniewski. Right, it looks like we've actually got ourselves a little interview here. It looks like Jeffrey is actually waiting to have a chat. Of course, he was the winner from race number 1, P2 in race number 2 as well. And, well, Connery called him the budget Max Verstappen. I've called Max Verstappen the budget Jeffrey Rietveld. Jeffrey, how you doing, mate? You all right?
All right. Yeah, been feeling a bit unwell today, but
Oh,
yeah, adrenaline is a hell of a drug apparently, so not
well,
too bad.
it's a fair medicine getting a P1 and a P2. It's not been the greatest of starts to your championship. You found yourself in the top 5 coming into today. A P1 and a P2. You must be feeling very confident moving forward in this series.
Yeah, I mean, like I felt quite comfortable on this track, and I think it showed, even though I'm not feeling very great. So, yeah, but I mean, Porsche is fast, and many things can happen. You can get taken out and lose a lot of points. So it will be all about consistency, I think. And the guy who's going to be most consistent will be crowned champion, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's how do you view your sort of position in the championship at the moment? Because of course we saw Tim have a brilliant start to the season. He's in one of those Porsches that you talk about, right? So it's a very tough now in the second half of the season. When you see that points gap, what's your thought process now?
I just take it race by race, really. Like if Tim has like one terrible round and I have a good round, you're immediately up there, right, in the points. So that's why I said like it's all about consistency, because there's a lot of points on the table and you just need to hit your lap in qualifying, be up there in the top 3, top 4 every single race, and then you have a shot for the title. But yeah, we take it race by race.
So yeah, talking about the title, in the last 3 races, we head to the Sachsenring, Red Bull Ring, and then we finish off at the Hockenheimring. Out of those 3 circuits, is there one you can target that you feel like the Audi may be the quicker of the manufacturers, and there's an opportunity to really close that gap?
I think the Porsche will remain the quickest car, but it will be tight. Like everyone is so close that if you don't hit like your perfect quali lap, you could move from like, let's say, a P3 to P15. It's very competitive. So yeah, I think the people in the Porsche have a little bit of an advantage, but at the same time, it's about performing under pressure, and not everyone is able to do that. So all to play for, I think.
Well, fair play, mate. Obviously, you're not feeling overly great, so we'll let you go. Congratulations on your incredible results, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time.
Yep, thank you.
So there you have it there, guys. Jeffrey Rietveld, P1 and a P2 today. He'll be feeling, well, not feeling that great because he's not very well. But in terms of sim racing, he'll be over the moon with that performance so far. But let's have a quick look at the calendar once again. As I just mentioned, we've still got 3 more rounds to go. So anyone watching at home right now, if you're excited for the rest of the championship, this is where you need to be on the 5th of April, round number 4, the Sachsenring. Then on the 12th of April, it'll be round number 5 at the Red Bull Ring. And of course, 2 races per round. And then round 6, we finish off for the 19th of April at the Hockenheim Ring. Let's give a couple of minutes. Maybe we get Nikodem coming in for a chat. If he doesn't pop in the next couple of minutes, we'll wrap it up there, Connery. Do you have any final thoughts of what you've seen today?
I think overall the main takeaway that at least the drivers can come away from today is that there's still a possibility of getting those podiums, getting those race wins. It's not going to be one single person every single race this season that takes the race wins, unlike certain real-life series we could talk about. So that's something that you can take away. We've got some fantastic action. Of course, we got tracks coming up, which will, especially towards the very back end of the season, which will help the overtaking situation. I am looking forward to the race at the Red Bull Ring as our penultimate round there at round number 5. I think that is going to be a whole bunch of fun. Of course, Hockenheimring also needs no introduction. So there's still possibilities for these drivers to gain the boatloads of points that they need to try and get into those prize-paying positions. But you are right, Luke, in the fact that Yarshel is kind of all singing, all dancing at the very front, and it would take something quite catastrophic for him to lose that, lose the summit of the mountain, basically.
Yeah, 100%. Well, it looks like we're not going to have a word of Nicodem. He's not in any of the chats waiting to have a chat. So I will say congratulations to him. It's been a very, very good display from Nicodem, getting that race victory in race 2. Didn't go so well in race number 1. Jeffrey Rietveld, I believe, will probably be second in the championship now, actually, with those 2 results. A race win and indeed a P2. But yet again, Tim Yarshel, another couple of top 5s will take us through to the halfway point of the season in the championship leads. Thank you to everybody who has worked behind the scenes on this, especially you, Connery. Connery does all of the work that you see in terms of the moving parts, so always nice to work with Connery. But we're going to be back in a couple of weeks' time for the second half of the season. So this has been the DTM eSports Pro Series 2024. We are halfway through. See you next time.